superintendent. And I also want to take a moment to thank the people who are behind me, for showing up. They believed in me, they trusted me. They trusted me when I pushed them, and they showed me grace when I didn't always get it right. And when I was forcing them out of their comfort zone. So thank you so much for being here with us today also. This district means a great deal to me. I was raised here, I built my career here, and several years ago, I chose to move back home and leave a district I loved so that I could raise my own growth here. I'm invested, and these people, they're more than just stakeholders to me. Over the course of my career, I've served in many roles that have allowed me the opportunity to see what it really takes for a district to run. From classroom instruction to special education, to building leadership, and now to district level systems. And what that's taught me is our work needs to stay focused on students. That we need to collaborate. That we need to use data to guide our decisions. And that we need to make decisions that are aligned with responsible fiscal decision making. I believe in collaboration. I believe in bringing people to the table and truly listening. I lead with compassion and professional honesty. I believe that transparency builds trust. And that's even when times are hard or conversations are hard. I don't pretend to know it all. And I really value the collective expertise of the people that surround me. I've modeled what it means to be a lifelong learner through my professional development. And as you can see through my completion of the Horizons Leadership Academy through MASA. I'm forward thinking, and I believe that this district truly can strengthen instruction, utilize data to make decisions, and allocate our resources wisely, all while staying true to the relationships and culture that make this district so special. Ultimately, my leadership is rooted in service. I care deeply about this community, and I can promise you that I will always make decisions that put students first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our next question will come from Vice President Perky, and then we'll proceed down through Janae and so on around the table.
Okay, please describe for us what you do to create learning environments in which all students and their families experience respect, acceptance, and success.
Well, it's really about the culture that we build, being present, listening, collaborating, the teamwork that we use. I really believe that as part of public education, it is our job to make sure that all students have access to high quality instruction. And together our teams have planned pretty intensely throughout the course of my career in order to guarantee that. It means that sometimes we have to sit down at the table, we have to look at data together, we have to look at evidence-based practices and put those into place. And we have to follow through on what we are saying to families that we'll do. We have to show students that we care, that we're there for them, that we show up for them. And we also have to do the same with our community.
Thank you.
Please describe how you work to develop a powerful sense of common purpose among central office personnel, building administrators, teachers, and the staff in the buildings.
Well, it's always about doing what's right for kids, and making sure that we keep everything aligned to our shared vision and our strategic plan. I think that the most notable aspect of my leadership is that I'm relationships first. I work to build relationships with all stakeholders. I listen, I value their input. I follow through, I say what I'm going to do. I do what I'm going to, or I say what I'm gonna do and I do it. If I mess up, I let them know I mess up and I go back, but most importantly, I learn from it. I have high expectations of them, I cheer them on, and when things don't go the way that we would have hoped or that I would have hoped, I have honest discussion with them and we grow from there.
Des, could you tell us, I have a two-part question.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about your involvement in collective bargaining in general? And then can you tell us about the most recent contract issue in our district, your involvement in it and the resolution?
Absolutely. So collective bargaining is the strongest tool that we have to attract staff, retain staff, grow staff, and develop staff. It is something that our district has done very well for a long time, and it's a skill that I intend to master. As far as one of the, most recent contract issues, I know that with our scheduling, we've had to adjust, some of our start times and end times. And we also had to put some transition times in there through negotiations that had come out. And so that is one of the most recent that I've been directly involved in adjusting the scheduling. Did you ask that question one more time?
Yeah, I know, it's a long one. Your involvement in collective bargaining in general, and then the most recent contract issue, your involvement in it and the resolution.
So I guess the resolution would be that we were able to create those schedules that complied with our collective bargaining and that served kids and met instructional hours. So along with collective bargaining, I've had the opportunity to sit in on collective bargaining last year. I will be doing the same this year. And I've also had the opportunity to attend the Michigan Negotiators Association conference this past fall to continue to expand my learning, as well as it was very well covered in the Horizons Leadership Program.
Mike?
What are the critical issues in creating a good board and superintendent relationship, and how do you facilitate such relationship?
Absolutely. So our strength lies in how we work together as a team, keeping students at the forefront and making sure that we are working towards our shared vision and our strategic plan. Our district shared vision is about to expire, so that would be something that I would like to do in the first couple of months, or first half year is begin working through a new strategic plan. Along with that, we've had a lot of new faces in the district, in our buildings and on our board. And so really working together to decide where we're going to move forward from here. Along with that, I intend to have clear, transparent communication. I want you to know what's going on. I want to be able to anticipate questions. I'm going to be honest about challenges and build that trust and respect together. I intend to get to know you all better individually so that I understand your priorities, that I understand your perspectives and what you believe success looks like. This is an area of building relationships is an area that I would say that I've been very successful in. If you look at all of the committee work that I've done with outside stakeholders, the community within our district, whether I'm facilitating or a team member, this is an area that I've really thrived in because we are only as strong as our team, our relationships. So, did I get answer that? Thank you.
Thanks, Tess. Tell us what budget development process you use or would use, and how the process works to gain broad support for the result.
Awesome. So finance is an area I'm pretty excited about because the last 2 years in central office, I would say that this is where I've pushed myself to grow and where I've grown the most. I've learned a lot. One primarily being my relationship with the business manager has to be strong. I have to be able to trust in the business manager, but also budgeting and finance is a lot about forecasting and forecasting student count, forecasting where the money is going to come from the next year, and how the money can be spent. One thing that I've learned with budgeting is that public education, this is super monitored. And so you have to be very specific about where the dollars are spent. When I think about spending funds, I really think about how is this going to impact students and how is it aligned to our vision. When I first started in this position, I was handed all state and federal programs, which is huge. It's monitored. And I noticed that some of the work was disconnected. And so we worked as a team through our district network and within the central office to really align our school improvement plan with our shared vision and goal strategic plan, with our intervention plans, to make sure that what we are putting into our title budget, for example, really was impacting students and aligned to all of our goals, whether they're district goals or building goals. I think some of our greatest achievements have come out of being intentional through the state and federal program funding. This is where we've seen great growth in some of our individual student data. We work to plan individually for students and what their intervention is going to look like. And then decide what tools we're going to use in order to support them, or what evidence-based practices are we going to fund in order to support growth.
How have you identified achievement gaps and how have you addressed such gaps in your current setting? Tell us about your challenges and successes in doing this.
This has been an area that I have worked on my entire career. Here at RABS, we have a lot of systems in place. And one of them is how we look at data and how we utilize data. So when we have data in front of us, I think that the easiest part is talking about the successes. It's easy for us to celebrate and to look at that, look at our data and our numbers, and decide what went very well. And then to use those celebrations to say, why do we think that's so? And what did we do here so that we can utilize those strategies elsewhere? As far as the challenges go, we talk about what we see in the data. And one thing I always like to make clear when we talk about data is this isn't a gotcha. This is a how can we improve? This is just information so that we can determine our next step. And so as far as the challenges go, when we recognize challenges, we make sure to talk about the causal factors. What is it that we think is causing our data to look the way it is? And then in result, we choose causal factors and we put evidence-based strategies in place. The most important piece then is once we get those action steps in place to address those challenges, we progress monitor. So we're swooping back in and taking data again every 4 to 6 weeks to see if what we're doing is working. I'm super proud of people behind me in some of these teams. I know that first grade can celebrate some big moves, and when they met their data before the data review, they decided, okay, what are we doing next? So it's not that we don't just stand still once we meet success. We then determine how we move forward and make new goals.
So this will be question 7 out of 15 that we had for you. Please tell us about your experience of increasing school of choice enrollment. Have you done that at all?
Yeah, this increasing school of choice enrollment hasn't been a big priority, but with decreasing enrollment numbers in our district, obviously it's an area that we may want to focus on. And so it really is about celebrating all of the good and selling our district. And so showing the community what kind of opportunities that we provide to students. In the classroom, are we providing intervention to support? Are we providing vocational ed? Are we providing extracurriculars and athletics that attract people? And also being proud of the people who impact the lives of children every day and talking about our stories, walking the walk, being present in the community. And really just showing what Buck 5 is meant to be. And so if school of choice is an area that we want to work on together as a team, I can promise you that I will be present. I will be the biggest cheerleader of our district. We have some great ideas. I've worked together with our director of preschool for several years now, and she has pushed me to grow in early education and some of those ideas because I know that we lose good local families because of after-school childcare. Our vision, the director of preschool and I, we have a vision to get an after-school childcare program going, and we have talked about it. And so if we can work through the finance piece about that, I know that would attract more to our district also. And so really, I have a lot of great ideas that would bring back some local families that school of choice elsewhere too.
Thank you.
Okay, what methods have you used to attract and retain top quality staff?
Love that. So, as you're aware, we have a really strong attracting and hiring program here at RAPS. And I do believe that we have a strong retention program or strong retention support too. The collective bargaining is an example. It's our opportunity to show our staff that we care while making fiscally responsible decisions. But it's an opportunity for us to show that show our support and our love. But also, more importantly, it is about the relationships once we get them here and the support once we get them here. Showing them what it means to work for Roscommon Area Public Schools. I think it speaks volumes to the amount of alumni who have returned to work here. And as we build culture and make it a positive place to work, it also attracts more staff. But to add on to that, it's also about how we support them. So how are we growing staff? How are we providing services for them to grow, such as mentoring, instructional coaching? And then most importantly, how are we including them in decision making? How do they have a voice and so it's really about that collaboration piece, making sure that when they're with us and we're taking that advice or that feedback, that we actually listen and put that into action. But also, I think it's about making sure too that we show them our appreciation all the time. When things are going really well, when they're struggling, we're there to support them.
Tell us about any experience you've had implementing and managing bond projects, sinking funds, or facilities management.
This is a great question because as we've seen across the state, districts have had trouble getting bonds passed or sinking funds passed, and we know our history with that also. And so it is an area that I have put a lot of thought into. We need to first figure out why our community is not passing bonds. And so really we need to stop campaigning and start listening. We need to create a plan or some plans, hear what they're willing to pass, and then create some plans and show them. I think also that we need to be really transparent about our current state. When we make advancements, we need to celebrate them. We can put them on social media. We can invite people in for facility tours. But also when we have challenges and infrastructure issues, we need to be honest about them. And that also has to go with our community connection. We need to make sure that we're inviting the community in here and see what our district is about, what our students do, what our staff do. And so when it comes to actual experience, I've sat on successful and unsuccessful bond committees here. I've called lists and lists of people to inform them about bonds. But I think that most of my learning has come through Horizons Leadership Academy. They have a bond series, and it's a series of several hour-long videos that explain the process. And I've learned that it takes time and intention, and it takes teamwork in order to listen to the community and be creative on how we share with them our realities and what it takes for the district to sustain this investment that the community has provided us. Did I answer all those components?
Can you tell us about a situation that involved controversy beyond the school, which generated community newsworthy controversy? Describe your role in it and how it was resolved.
I'm gonna go with a story about safety. And a few years ago, when I was principal down at the elementary school, I received a text message from Officer Wybranick, and it just said, "Is everything okay?" And so I picked up the phone because he and I have a strong relationship. It's a must for safety to make sure that you have a strong relationship with the resource officer. And I said, everything's great, what's going on? And he proceeded to tell me that there was an issue happening outside of the school that he had been informed about and wanted to make sure everything was okay. And the first thing that I did is I calmly knew that I had babies out on the playground. And so I looked at my secretary and I said, I need you to secure us. I need you to call Kathy, our superintendent, and let her know that we're going into a secure place. And I went to the playground to get the students inside. By this point, the community knows that there's a secure place. The county had received a call. And I waited to get information from Officer John and kept our building secure mode. At one point, we decided that we were going to lock the district down while the law enforcement was doing their job. And so the controversy then came about the communication and how it was handled. It ended up being somebody getting ready for deer season up on top of the hill. And some people agreed with the way that we handled things, and some people disagreed with the way that we handled things. And the way that I handled it is I made sure to recognize that the safety of our students and staff are the utmost important. And keeping the building secure during that time was the most important piece. Because there were some parents who were a little bit angry that our plan is that they aren't allowed to take their kids while they're in that lockdown. And I was just transparent. I really believe that even if people disagree, they also deserve to know why a decision was made. And so that would be the example that I provide.
Can you give an example of when you were especially innovative with business partnerships or grants?
Yeah, so back when I was a special education teacher and very young in my career, I was known as the grant writer. We had in special education, for our students, our high school students, there is a portion of their service plan that focuses on transition. So how are we preparing these students to move on to post-secondary life? And so we wrote grants to provide them opportunities to visit different vocational centers. We wrote grants for them to go on leadership camps so that they could grow in their individuality and their leadership skills. And then we as a staff too would be able to go with them and guide them. And so we wrote lots of grants that provided inner city school kids also opportunities to see life outside of the city. So visiting outside of Bay City, heading north, heading south. And that's a really early in my career example. I could sit here and tell you about the great experience I've had with writing grants and being creative with money the last 2 years. One of my favorite stories is I was sitting with the business manager, and our business manager stuff would tell you if there's a grant out there that I see that I think can benefit kids, we're writing it. And we were sitting there together and she said to me, how much is the state gonna let us write this grant for? And there were really unclear guidelines coming from the state about it. And I looked at her and I was like, we're going big. And she was like, let's do this. And so really writing in detail and creating a vision and showing them our plan. And it turns out that there are some details in the lack of clarity from the state on this grant, but we were awarded the $200,000 for this grant. And it actually ended up being a mistake on their part. That's what we wrote it for, but it was a 5-year-long grant and they gave us all of the money in that year. And so whoop, I was so proud, and I just looked at Leanne and I looked at Steph and I was like, that's why we go big. And so I could tell you lots of great stories about grant writing, but I keep an eye out on what's happening in the state. I keep an eye out locally on what's happening to make sure if there is an opportunity that aligns with our work and impacts students, we're going for it. With that.
Please does. Well, what could your current district or school do to be more successful?
So one area, first off, I'm super proud of her. But I see areas to grow and I'm ready to sustain that great work and sustain our systems. But also a part of me knowing the district is I'm also ready to. And to see what our next years look like, creating a new strategic plan. But the area one of the areas besides facilities, we have some dire needs in facilities, but one area I really want to focus on is community and family engagement. After COVID, we've had a really hard time getting people back in our buildings. Whether it's community members, families, we need people to see all of the great things that are happening. And we need our community. We need our community to have volunteer opportunities here. I would love to see our facilities in our area become a centerpiece for our town and our students and our families. They fund these buildings, and I would love to be able to hold more meetings here, to hold community outings, maybe around health and wellness. I'd love to be able to create spaces where everyone feels like they're welcome, because once we get them in the door, they can see what we're doing. And so that would be it. I look forward to working with our administration to talk about parent advisory committees and community advisory committees so that we can get feedback and we can put that feedback into action.
How do you help community members without children attending your schools value what educators do and feel a sense of ownership for education in your community? That's enough.
That's a great question, and it aligns with the question prior. Again, we need to provide our community members an opportunity to volunteer, to be in our building, to mentor, to have relationships with our local businesses. A couple of examples that I want to give of how I've done this before and how I've engaged with families without kids who go here. One is we had a student with some diverse needs when I was assistant principal. And I was looking for something that he could connect with. And he loved technology. So I reached out to our local business who is the expert in that. And no kids in his family that come to the school. And he partnered where he would come to the school every Friday to work with the student. And he was a mentor for the student. And the student then was able to go work in the shop on Saturdays and Sundays. And when the student ended up leaving our community and that relationship was no longer there, I kept hearing from that local business person. And I think that another perk of me being an internal candidate and someone who's lived here for most of the years of my life is I do know how to connect with people. I do know who to contact, and if I don't, I can ask somebody who likely is going to give me the next step. But my husband, probably 3 months ago, he had run into this business owner, and the business owner had asked him about the time that I reached out and created that connection for that student and about that relationship. And he was just commending the fact that we would be so creative in how we support students. So like I said, it's about getting them into the building. It's about celebrating. I have lots of ideas, especially on social media. I know in my paperwork, I talked a lot about today's learners and today's families. We really have to meet them where they're at. And social media, though respectfully and responsibly, is a path that I want to take. I want to celebrate what we're doing. I want to be transparent about our facilities or our needs. When we improve things like our parking lot, I want to celebrate that. I want to celebrate when we're creative. If it's not a bond, maybe it's a sinking fund, or until then, how are we going to be creative? Are we going to use capital projects? Are we going to talk about general fund in order to fund some of these updates? And so really just being clear about our needs, our vision, where we're going, and celebrating our district.
All right, parse that round 3.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
We're going around again?
Yeah, 2 more questions. And this is not really, wasn't intended to be built for you, but kind of built. You describe your experience in special education, the role you have played, and the responsibility of a superintendent in this instructional area.
This may be my favorite question, because special education is what brought me to this career, and it is my foundation. So I could sit here and I could talk about that I know how to write IEPs, that I've worked with the staff to realign some of our special education policies and procedures here, when I first came, that I know all about discipline and, the requirements. Along with finance, special education is one of the most monitored areas. And I can continue to tell you about all of the laws and all of the details, and really as the superintendent, it's to make sure that our staff understand those, that they're compliant with those, and that they are following through with all of the requirements and the timelines. And if they're struggling with that, to make sure we're supporting them and we're providing them professional development or mentors in order to grow them. But I'm not going to tell you about all of my experience because you can see it in my resume. Instead, I decided if this was a question, I really wanted to tell you about what special education taught me. This is where I started my career, and it taught me that we always have to put the students first. It taught me the importance of thinking creatively and making financially smart decisions when we're serving students. But this is where I learned what teamwork and collaboration looks like. I've sat in a lot of meetings with parents who are advocating fiercely, as they should, for their student. And we are able to create plans and see the success. Special education also taught me that the greatest honor I will ever have as an educator is to impact the lives of students. To be someone's person is the best gift you could have. And we have to, with special education, we are working with diverse needs. And it is something to know that a student who has diverse needs looks to you to be that student's, to be her person, and to know that no matter what, I believe in you. So special ed, that's my foundation and probably my favorite question.
Thank you. Mike?
Sometimes we must make decisions or act without having all the information or the total picture. Describe a time when you experienced this kind of ambiguity. Why was it important to act? And then how did you cope with it?
Yeah, so first, something that I have learned in education is that not many things require a decision right away. But when they do, it requires calmness and thoughtfulness. The decision I'm gonna describe to you actually just happened last week. And I had to make a decision, it was a snow day, on what after school activities were going to take place. And so, like I always do when I'm making a decision, I make sure to gather all the information, look at the data, and think of the impact on students. And with this, it is safety. But I worked with the team and I made sure that I was in touch with transportation and maintenance. I made sure that I was watching the weather like a hawk. I was reaching out to other districts or having my administrators reach out to other districts to see what their plan was. And I was trusting those people who had made those decisions. And in response, I did have somebody question my decision. Oh, I need to back up. After I make a decision, I need to make sure also that it's communicated. And so communicated the decision, and administration assisted in that piece. And after that, there were some wonderings about why the complete decision that I made was made. And it really brought me, great fulfillment to have the conversation with the person and be able to explain my why so that that person understood. Safety is always first. This is the decision I made and here is why. So clear in my communication. And again, like I said before, even when we disagree, people deserve to know why the decision was made.
Very good. So as we wind down our time together, are there any other things you would like for us to think about or consider regarding your
So I do just
candidacy?
want to back up to the question about board relations, because I did forget to talk about a key point, that I hope that we can complete together. And that is, I do have every intention of bringing MASC back to outline board and superintendent roles, what communication is going to look like, between us. And then ultimately to make sure that we function under a no surprises, rule. I will do my best always to make sure that I'm not surprising you with something. And if I do, I hope that we've built the trust and the respect where you will come to me and let me know. I think that one thing about my character is I like to do things well all the time. And I am a strong reflector. I reflect on all things that I do. And if I don't get it right, please know it was in the best intentions of students. But I would appreciate the opportunity in order to grow from that. And then didn't know if we were gonna have time to ask questions of the board, or if today is the appropriate time to do that.
Probably that would be at a later date. Yep,
Perfect.
yep. So, Des, we appreciate your interest in coming to us today for this superintendent position. You know, we have a number of other candidates. We will contact you after we've completed all of the interviews to let you know where you stand. And just appreciate you coming today. Thank you again. We're all set.
Thank you,
Good night.
and I appreciate the opportunity. I hope that I can continue to serve and invest in a district that has invested so much in me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Desiree. Let me remind the audience that you got those feedback forms. We'll be back in a couple minutes to grab them from you, and we'll be making copies and all the work. Well, I'm waiting for our next candidate. And just a heads up, if our next candidate is here, or once she arrives, we won't necessarily wait till 7, if that's okay with you.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay?
Turn and thirty.
If you have time to wait, so I'll go back again.
I would say even through the disagreement from that film, we are still fairly efficient.
Yeah.
We don't waste a lot of time.
Loss of management here. Take these to check, because this is, nothing that you.
Yes.
I
know. Wow, it's the queens.
Oh, Joe.
I got something this Saturday before. I was in that.
That do lots of this.
Something that she seems to have stronger immunity.
Gentlemen driving back, so it's.
Well, and then with.
Everybody that you guys perfect in the car back.
Yeah.
She's like, it's just about.
I hope that. It was kind of all right. I had a really deep socket and then this is. That's okay, it's just my school Z. But I had a Z waiting for me. So, went to the dentist, one question. So I'm hoping the Z pack at least. I won't get it, like a sinus infection. Like, it doesn't spread. Yeah. But yeah, my last 2 days were pretty miserable. Trying them. Yeah. It's just,
You know, writing assignments will be collected. Please write these. Names are not required on the paper.
Can you cheat off the neighbor?
Yeah.
That's how we got to such prominent positions.
You know what? They're the ones reading it, so.
It's in cursive.
Ah, you're screwed.
I mean,
We still know cursive.
Oh.
Old enough.
Oh. I heard that, Kevin.
That was to them.
I got home at 1 in the morning. I mean, every minute is like. I napped on my lunch. Work from home, so I just rolled over to.
And our next candidate is here, so we'll probably start in about 5 minutes.
Sounds
Start
fine.
about
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, if anybody needs a restroom break, go ahead. Now's the time.
And just a reminder, after we see both candidates. It'll really just be a conversation about, for today, what were the strengths you saw, what are the wonderings you had? I'm gonna try and hold you from moving to conclusions, because we wanna make sure we give, the two candidates tomorrow night a full opportunity.
Yep.
And then when we're done debriefing both candidates tomorrow night, is when we'll say, we'll get to the so what part of the conversation. Is everybody turning the homework to Denver? Oh. Right, oh.
We can't do that here, but. Look at right on the fingers. Nothing like that at all, I'm just used to caffeine. Yeah.
That was a
I.
Exactly.
I.
There.
I see them, the other students, and have you like all the way to like in the year, there's like the race, which has like they have to do something, and there's people, they're like, oh, you should see, I'm like, oh, probably 60% of lights are broken. In the upper, like pretty soon, we're gonna have like the one side of the stage, the kids are in, like, it's like dark. Like, but when they're on the right side of the stage, like, you can't see that, they're in the shadow, yeah, it gets worse in the show. It's just so exciting, it's just. It's
on the stage, not in the.
like on the, yes, well, oh no, they're like half the auditorium lights are not, like half the auditorium lights are. Like even so, yeah, just the side, that's just a side note, Because I'm there every night, it's getting bad. And obviously I've done that for like 5 years now, just watching it. We're gonna have to,
He wants to talk about track.
yeah, he was talking, I know about that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've talked about it before here.
That's okay.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, I'm older. I got a very recent. You. That's not right.
I was just saying, she talked about, she brought us facility, she was like, oh, yeah. That, yes, definitely. It is.
Also encourage those of you who are here tonight, come back to Barnabas. I know there's some motivation to be here tonight, but.
Oh, well, yeah. I was here and we were taking rocks in football. Before there was any grass. Yeah. Before there was really traffic. Yeah. So I've seen the different evolutions, as I said earlier. And, fix it.
Hey, Scott, what was your graduating year?
77.
Yeah.
Anybody else in school in 77?
Oh, my dad graduated in 70.
70 what?
70.
70.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom and dad were 72, so right.
I'm not.
Dad was 70, my uncle Kenny was 72, and my aunt Pam was 73.
Yeah,
All from here?
yep, my grandpa was 45 here. But, okay, it was one here a
Not
while.
here, from there.
Really?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was-
It was the elementary school, right? Was it elementary?
What?
In 45?
Was it only the
Yeah.
elementary school? I think the elementary was after 45.
Yeah.
I think it was a little white building.
Okay, okay.
That they had the upper, sort of speak upper class of the press,
Was that white building that we moved?
I'm pretty sure.
That one that would like, we moved to the last. I remember that building, yeah.
Now, did you graduate from?
Yep.
Because that's
Yeah, so when I was a
freshman, sophomore.
freshman, March of my freshman year, we moved into the high school.
74, right?
As a new school, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was telling somebody, my folks moved us up and I was in 8th grade. And we were at the craft center.
Yeah.
It was 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. And it was an open campus arrangement. We couldn't walk across the street, where the dollar store is now is an old historic house. But in front of that was and I forget the name of the lady that had a food trailer. And we would go over there and my daily meal was a melted cheese on hamburger bun. That's what I ate. Or we could walk down to the Colonial, which existed at the time,
Oh.
where the Subway is now. And or even the Spruce Lodge, I was saying, had a restaurant back in the.
Did
Yeah, you could go in there.
bonks, no bonks yet?
Oh, there was a bomb.
There's a bomb.
Yeah.
You talking about the place in the back of the 5 and Dime back there? The back of all the drugstore there?
No, I'm talking, well, the drugstore that was next to where the school, where
Yeah.
the village is now,
Yeah,
that was a drugstore.
Yeah, the 5 and dime, they had a little.
Well, actually, where the. I forget what the name of it is, next to the jewelers now, to the left of the jewelers, was the 5 dimes. Where the village offices are now was the drugstore.
Yeah.
And they had the fountain.
Yeah.
Back.
That's a pretty good sandwich back there.
Everyone ready? So I'll go bring in Dr. Sue.
Yes.
She does have an EDD with a doctor, not an MED, that's reflected on the.
And what is the name? I didn't catch it.
Pardon me?
What's the name? I didn't catch it.
Russian.
Jennifer.
Yep.
Great.
Board President Hess, and rest of the board, and please introduce you Jennifer Thrush, your second candidate this evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you prefer that? Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, welcome, Jennifer. We appreciate you coming. My name is Scott Hess. I'm the president of the board at this point in time. We certainly have had the opportunity to reserve your resume and letter of interest and supporting documentation. And we appreciate you coming in to give us a little bit more input to understand how your background and your experience made you an ideal candidate for the superintendent of Ross County Area Public School. So, the first question that I will present to you, and after you're done answering that, then we will move over to our Vice President, Mike Perky, and then go around Robin a couple of times, and then finish up with second to last question and last question.
Okay.
We're not in a rush. Take your time. You feel free to, give us everything that you want us to understand. So, what is in your background and experience makes you an ideal candidate to become the superintendent of the Rusk County Area Public Schools?
Well, I believe I want to start my timer so I can make sure that we're on track. I believe that my deep experience in education makes me a great fit for the criteria that you're seeking. I have 25 years, actually 26 years of education, 15 years in the classroom, taught first through 8th grade. I have ELA and math cert, so I have that deep foundational knowledge from the littles through secondary in ELA and math. And then my 11 years of administrative experience has been also elementary and middle, split half and half there as well. And that has given me a lens for a lot of leadership, planning and systems work, like multi-tier systems of support, professional learning communities, positive behavior intervention systems, and processes and procedures. Those things have garnered, like in Breckenridge, we had a 50% gain in both math and ELA in a 3-year trend in MSTEP proficiency, which was amazing. Harrison Middle School, we've been a little bit slower growth in the academic area, but it is in a positive trend. We have, it's messy and magical in the middle. It's more messy, I would say. But we have developed some things that, we were able to decrease our behavior referrals by 50% in the last year, so that was great growth, there. And then I would also say that, my alignment, I guess, with your, mission of educating and inspiring all children. I would say adults as well, because we're all learners and growers. It's my passion, it's what I do. And, also the experience that I have in rural, small districts. We wear many hats. All my career has been in small rural districts, and so I think all of those things align with what you're looking for.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Your next question will be from Mike Cookie.
Yes, please describe for us what you do to create learning environments in which all students and their families experience respect, acceptance, and success.
I think you model the way, you build relationships and you, lead from, authentically and, build those relationships and the rapport. And, that's with kids, that's with teachers, that's with all stakeholders, and, parents will come on board with that. Especially in a small district like this, it's, everybody knows everybody's name, it's, the village that raises the child. And that stuff is very powerful. It might be a small district, but it's a private school feel, I'm sure.
Please describe how you work to develop a powerful sense of common purpose among central office personnel, building administrators, teachers, and the staff in the building.
I think our most recent, actually in both, administrative experiences, strategic plan at Breckenridge, because that was, with all stakeholders, including the board, right? It was the mission. And then we just went through that plan, a year ago, or that process, I should say, a year ago at Harrison Community Schools. And so I would say, as far as all stakeholders being involved in something, that is, really the depth of the work that we do. And, get a little plan like this, when it aligns with your school improvement plan as well, because, in Breckenridge, it wasn't so easy, because here we had the MyKIP, school improvement stuff as educators. And then we've got the strategic plan, and they didn't necessarily align it, so it was a lot. It felt like we were not just doing a few things, we were doing a lot of things. And so, in Harrison, I've been fortunate enough for that, and then I see that, your strategic plan that you're nearing the end of, but, it makes for the common vision and the stream to be able to move together.
Can you tell us about your involvement in collective bargaining in general? And then tell us about the most recent contract issue in your district, your involvement in it, and the resolution.
I really haven't had, as far as administrative, because that's always been a superintendent piece, and then I was never part of that bargaining committee as a teacher. So as far as that experience of being involved, other than knowing the gist of what is happening, I think step and increases and for some of our veteran teachers, it's been difficult for them because we have been through so many cuts and so many stagnant line items that it's hard for them to see their value sometimes when they see new people coming in at a higher rate than them. And so I guess that's what I'm seeing more at Harrison than anything else. Other than that, both Harrison and Breckenridge have been great to work with, teachers and central office collaboratively, because we focus on kids and making those decisions.
What are the critical issues in creating a good board superintendent relationship, and how do you facilitate such a relationship?
Communication is key, regular communication. Um. If I were given the opportunity, I would love to, start off with individual meetings with everybody, to be able to. Get to know people a little bit better, but also establish that communication, norm and frequency of maybe how you want that communicated and how frequent you want it. I can say that at, Breckenridge, what a superintendent did was, it was weekly communication unless there was something else that came up. She met weekly with the board president, and she also aligned her weekly communication and ours as administration as well. We aligned it to our strategic plan, and so that was the components of the weekly update, and then every time something occurred under those pieces, we were able to align that, so then that also helped us with our board workshops, because we were able to see the growth a little bit more clearly, so. Obviously, you set the policies, I give recommendations, and ultimately implement, what it is that's been decided.
Tell us what budget development process you use or would use. And, excuse me, how the process works to gain broad support for the result.
I'm sorry, say that last part again.
Sorry, I have a cold. And how the process works to gain broad support for the result.
Are you talking general fund, or are you just talking any fund? Just budget. Budget in general, okay, so, I think it's multifaceted. For me right now as an administrator, I work a lot with grants, so 31A and Title I and Title II monies, and so, and that honestly depends on legislation, and this last year, you start school and there's no pocket of money, and then all of a sudden, oh, you've gotta, and so we also got a new NDE consultant, and so everything that we had under 31A and Title I, she decided it wasn't the way she would like it, and so all things had to change, and so you gotta be very flexible, but as long as you stay student-centered and the core instruction of kids and what's in front of kids, you can't go wrong. So, that is my world right now, but as a superintendent lens, obviously, you're always looking at that fund balance and trying to make sure that it's healthy, not too healthy to where you can't get any loans or grants, but not too far in a deficit that no MDE wants to pay you a visit. So, it would be looking at enrollment trends and spending, and in small districts, your personnel expense is always going to be high, and so it's that other piece that you wanna, that fluctuates a little bit, that you wanna make sure you're keeping track of. With ESSER funds now gone, some of the pieces I know are going to be looking at, I guess, the effectiveness of those programs or whatever it is that chose to spend the money on, to see if it's garnering that return on investment that what you're looking for. So some of those things might be something to look at. It looks like some deficit spending a little bit. I don't know, I didn't really get into a lot of it, but some of that would be enrollment trends, like I said, and trying nutrition possibly. When those retirements, and we have 2 retirements at Harrison at the high level, and so that's gonna really help offset that budget that we were dipping into a little bit as well, so. Those are just some of the things. I'm not sure that the coalition, I guess, as long as you're being transparent on what you're doing and it's student-centered, everybody can come on board with that.
How have you identified achievement gaps and how have you addressed such gaps in your current setting? Tell us about the challenges and successes in doing this.
In my current setting, it's, there's a lot of achievement gap. We have high at-risk, population. My building in particular fluctuates from 85% to 92%, at risk. We have a lot of transient, Clare County, and we house the jail, kiddos as well, so it's, we have been focusing on curriculum, number one, those essential standards over the last few years. We've aligned those, we have went through 2 cycles of vetting and adoption for resources through ELA and math. We are now up in science, gonna make a decision on that hopefully this year. And so we are finally starting to see, this is our 3rd year implementation of HMH literacy, and we did K-12. Math, we did an elementary, a middle, and a high. And we are seeing positive growth in both of those things. And then we are also focusing on interdisciplinary or across the disciplines, writing and reading, critical reading skills. And so everybody is expected to read and to write in every class. And of course, kids don't like it, but it is showing some positive trends for us. They're showing more growth on our NWEA, which is okay for us because we get that data right now. So that's great. Not as much in the MSTEP and the PSAT are they showing, but also they don't see the value of the test. And a lot of our kiddos are CTE kiddos and workforce and military. You know, there's a portion that go on to college and they do enroll, but we're really trying to find that happy medium as a secondary building in rural Michigan. So one of the other things that we did implement, secondary, this is our 2nd year in a row, would be that common intervention time. We call it a one-team time, but it's basically, you see that you've had one too, I can't remember what you called it, but a time for teachers to work one-on-one or a small group of kiddos on things that they either need to reteach or make a test up or something like that. And then we also read during that time as well. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this will be question 7 out of 15 we have for you. Please tell us your experience of increasing school of choice enrollment.
School of choice enrollment. So one of the things in Breckenridge, because we were dealing with declining enrollment. So when I came on board, my superintendent was the elementary principal and she'd been there for like 18 years, I think. And so they volunteered her to go superintendent. And so when I came on board, we worked very closely together. It was the high school principal, secondary principal, myself, and the superintendent. So it was just the 3 of us basically. And we were, I want to say around 700 students or something like that. And we were 6 something when I left, but we were able to stabilize that enrollment. And part of what came out of the strategic plan for Breckenridge was the need for childcare and tuition-based preschool. And so that was part of what got put on my plate to investigate. And so we did some site visits to different places and some research, and actually within that year, that next school year, we just launched it. We weren't quite ready, but we didn't want to wait another full year, but basically we wanted to brand them in pull-ups. And so we created a space. We had 2.5-year-olds to preschoolers in childcare. We were open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. we opened a summer STEAM literacy program so that parents had, you know, full-time. We took, I think, 3 weeks off during the year is all that we weren't open, so, they had quality childcare. And, we also then did a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old tuition-based preschool, and then we had 2 sections at GSRP. We found the transition of when the kids came into kindergarten, there was no separation anxiety, those little kiddos just owned that space and. So I think that was part of it, to be honest with you, because. The kids were there from 7 to 6 mostly, and parents would come in and drop them off, and even if they had different schedules, they were able to do that. And, if you build it, they will come, as they say, right? We are the hub, and, that could be something. The other pieces is making sure that you have the offerings that other places can give, right? To be able to extend for kids and to be able to offer the CTE and the options like that and to connect them. We had a great STEM program at the high school, and one of our high schoolers actually made a prosthetic 3D arm for someone, so that was big news. But we really tried to advance our kiddos as much as possible. Like I said, that private school feel, that's what it felt like. Everybody knows everybody's name, and we're all here to help each other. High schoolers, we're helping the elementary kids, and I think parents will go above and beyond to take their kids places that they feel that their kids are being valued and their kids want to be there.
Mike?
Okay. What methods have you used to attract and retain top quality staff?
In Harrison, we have over the last couple of years developed a mentoring program that we assign a mentor with every new teacher that is on a IDP, individual plan. And they do that for their first 3 years, 4 years. But they meet monthly. They do certain, like every month, there's certain things that they do. We also have an onboarding, so they have a couple of days with us before the rest of the staff come back, so they can get their computer, they can see their books, they can get their email, they can make sure they're all connected in. And then one of the other things is that they do the RESP for 1 day as well. So they have 3 days of training before, which is the week before. So then they have a whole weekend to try to think about setting up that classroom and getting ready. And then we have the 3 days where everybody comes back and we can kind of have that camaraderie. But the mentorship has been very helpful. And then we also have instructional coaches, one at the secondary and one at the elementary level. So they also have that instructional support. In my building in particular, I've been able to use grant funds for a student success coach, and she happened to be, she really needed to reinvent herself. She was getting burnout. She was a science veteran teacher. She can retire at any time, but I put her in that role so she oversees some of those kiddos that are really struggling academically or behaviorally, and kind of keeps track of them and is their coach. But she's also more a classroom management coach because she's got a lot of great systems and pieces. So I have the instructional coach part of it plus the classroom management part of it.
Good.
It also helps that we have a very competitive beginning of first few years salary. I think Harrison is the top or one of the top. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head right now, but so sometimes that's what draws them in, but then we're able to keep them because of the others. Because the housing is hard. So a lot of people are driving from Midland, they're driving from Pleasant, they're driving from Holton. So they're commuters.
Tell us about any experience you've had implementing and managing bond projects, sinking funds, or facilities management.
More facilities management, anything, we attempted a bond at Harrison this, last time, and it did not go round, so hopefully the next time, when voters are really out, it'll go, but. In Breckenridge, we did have a bond, it did pass. So I was on the committee of both. To develop the brochure and do all that kind of stuff, and then to kind of go out and share the news. As far as facilities, you know, it's usually just my building that I'm working with multiple departments on something like that. But like Chartwell's is our, food service program, and so they run out of my building, and then in my building, I also have. The health clinic, we have an on-site based health clinic as well, and so it's right across from my office, so those things, run the building.
Can you tell us about a situation that involved controversy beyond school, which generated community newsworthy controversy? Can you describe your role in it and how it was resolved?
Yeah. Controversy always controversy, but outside of school, I guess the most controversy I can think of as a middle school principal is this. Just, it starts over the weekend and then it just comes into the building and then we have to deal with it and then parents are upset and I'm like. I didn't give them the phone, I didn't give them the Snapchat, right, but once. That bullying and stuff happens in the building, we have to take care of it, so. What goes on social media about, well, we're bullying and nobody's doing anything about it is really hard to tackle and really hard to hear. When it's stemming usually from an outside piece. We have turned our phones off. There is no cell from bell to bell, there, keep them in their lockers, and that is dramatically. In the last year and a half, cut down half or more of the drama that we get and the fights. I was probably getting a fight every couple of weeks. I think I've had 3 all year, so it's huge, and I hope that we can continue to do that. I can't think of any other controversy.
Well, Harrison,
What's that?
it's Harrison.
It's Harrison. There's lots of controversies about, I guess, school, and we're indoctrinating people, we're just trying to raise good humans, kind humans, and critical thinkers. So I invite them in to volunteer. They don't usually show up.
Okay, Mike?
Could you please give us an example when you were especially innovative with business partnerships or grant?
I would say, the Husky Pup Learning Center that I had mentioned earlier, is probably the most innovative. Because we started that from the ground up and from nothing. With that, we kind of also were trying to figure out how to create an environment. Again, build it and they will come, so like the Mount Pleasant Discovery Museum, right, so we went to visit there and developed a discovery playground. We put up a little barn structure for shade, and the kids had digging, archaeological dig area, and just a lot of creative play and things like that, so they were learning, it was more of an outdoor learning center. And we partnered with a lot of businesses like Farm Bureau and I generated over $100,000 worth of grants in my time alone at Breckenridge. And so that grant leverage, being able to do that in the the tuition preschool and the childcare in the summer STEAM program did not come out of general funds at all. It was fiscally solvent by itself. That was what we decided that we needed to do. And so, we had to watch every dollar, and when you're, paying personnel to come in, you've got to make sure that you got enough kiddos. And so that was the focus of trying to make sure that it really was a learning center. We did a lot of partnerships with parents, with our GSRP as well, with the learning center, and then our kindergarten. So that early childhood piece, we really bonded all of those teachers and the families. They gave some make and take activities, and so we were kind of doing some parenting and learning things at home to make it take in a fun way. And so I think that that was probably one of the most innovative and successful pieces.
What could your current district or school do to be more successful?
Stop the bleeding. We're on the right track. We are doing all of the curricular work. My building in particular has a big turnover because we've had people retire, and we've had people that are veterans, like one became the instructional coach, went over to become the state and federal programs person at central office. The other one was an elementary instructional coach. The other one became the student success coach. Another one got an administrative job somewhere else. So just by happenstance of growing, which is awesome, there's been a lot of new staff in my building. I have everybody is less than 4 years there, less than 4 years experience, except for 3 staff members. So it's a lot of instructional coaching and observations. But they are getting grounded in commonalities, especially with grade levels, so that the students' behavior is consistent. It's kind of like going to mom's, going to grandma's, going to aunt and uncle's, all the rules are different, and they're finally seeing that they need to keep that all the same so that they are not having to deal with the classroom management piece of it, so they can get to the instruction. And then, of course, with our new resources and really delving into post-critical reading and their expectations for quality instruction, we're seeing some growth.
How do you help community members without children attending your schools value what educators do and feel a sense of ownership for education in your community?
I think with lake districts, it's a little bit different. And I think, well, I hope that education ends up the pendulum swinging the other way just a little bit, and that value comes back. Because there's been a lot of pieces that on the inside, you don't feel supported from the outside. And I think part of bringing people, especially people that don't have kids in the district or relatives in the district, would be to share the story. You've gotta share all of the success stories that the kids are doing, and get them out there doing community service type pieces and real job vocational things. I think to help them see part of that value as well. But when you're doing good and you're celebrating and you're raising kind kids, there's nobody that's not gonna support a kid or a school system that they, trust and believe in.
Be nice if they did. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Question 14 and 15, we're getting near the end.
Okay,
Appreciate
my
it.
timer's not even going off, so.
Yeah. No need for a timer. So describe your experience, if any, in special education. The role that you have played, and responsibility of the superintendent in this instructional area.
So I'm not special education certified, but I probably could be by now. As a teacher, especially like when I was a first grade teacher, that was a hard, heavy load. Because of the behaviors that come in and you're one person, and if you don't have a paraprofessional or another adult in that space, that's hard to do. And so I had to learn a lot of techniques and tricks from, special education gurus that I knew, and a lot of research depending on the kids that I've had, myself, just honestly to survive back in the day. There's way more trainings and things now for us to be able to train teachers and to help support them. Now, as an administrator, we have about 35% of our kiddos in the middle that have an IEP. Some of that is speech, not very many of it, but so we have a high special ed population. And you do the best you can. I mean, I have had to chase a middle schooler around my building this year, first time ever. So I was initiated into that. That's not new to me at the elementary level. It was new to me at the middle school level, but you know what? We put the kiddo on a partial day. He gets out at 1 o'clock now, and he is not happy camper. And he gets ABA therapy when he gets home now, and we have no issues. So I think it's just really working. It's all individual. There's not one blanket statement that I can make. But you gotta work with your teams. It's hard to find special education teachers, and our gen ed teachers are learning how to differentiate and modify and accommodate in the classroom. And again, that takes time. They've got to know their core content and tier 1 instruction before they can figure out how to even differentiate it for individual kids, let alone the special ed kids. And working as a team, instructional coaches and special ed teachers, that's, you just kind of got to do it one kid at a time, and then once it's developed, you're going to tweak it the next time for the next kid that's going to need something else. As a superintendent, obviously you have to make sure that the all the policies and federal laws are being upheld. We're gonna put our hands on kids and CPI trained, and it's specifically because you have to, because the kid's gonna hurt himself or somebody else. So training on anybody that works with kids that needs it. And then, the counseling and the behavior pieces of trying to mitigate some of those pieces, because some of it's, I think, more trauma. I mean, we wonder if some of these IEPs that we're giving are really true IEPs. And so that's, I don't think that's, I think that's the norm everywhere now. I don't think it's an anomaly comparison.
Okay, sometimes we must make decisions or act without having all the information or total picture. Describe a time when you experienced this kind of big unity. Why was it important to act? And how did you cope with it?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask you to say that one more time.
Yes. Sometimes we must make decisions or act without having all the information or the total picture. Describe a time you experienced this kind of ambiguity. Why was it important to act and how did you cope with it?
I mean, one of the first things that I can think of is, a safety issue or kids in a fight, right? Like, I'm just gonna act and they're gonna go home and the investigation's gonna be a little bit later to be able to get all the pieces together to figure out really who deserves what, but they're gonna get separated first and go through the investigation, and then connect with the parents on what that full consequence is. Another ambiguity piece. I can't think of one that I've had to make without, that I haven't had prior knowledge of something that I needed to do off the top of my head, unless you've got an idea. I can't think of something off the top of my head for now.
Sorry.
Regardless of whatever it is, we need to look at all the pieces, and follow board policy and procedures in order to be able to make the correct decision.
Perfect. So as we wind down our time together, all right, would you like to leave us with any closing remarks or thoughts?
So one of the questions I had was, your perspective as a board, what do you see besides building relationships and trust? Would you want the next superintendent to be able to really delve into that first year?
So we're probably gonna wait to answer a question like that, honestly. Part of the reason I think is just to kind of keep this on our 15 question and then your perceptions per se. We've been very lucky with our current superintendent and we're gonna miss her a lot, but we're looking forward and we're excited to the next phase. And so we just kind of want to get to know you rather than right now necessarily you getting to know us a little bit more. So
Absolutely. My superintendent, her text today was, remember, it's like a first date. You gave me a chocolate too. But I do, as I said, you know, I'm being very selective. Yeah, superintendency is an aspiration of mine, but I am perfectly happy where I'm at, and I am looking for a perfect fit as well to end my career as a superintendent. I believe that the mutual pieces we have are, for me, experiences in rural districts, a deep knowledge of all of that with 26 years in and being both at the middle and at elementary levels for administration and for teaching. I don't know very many superintendents that I've known that have had the vast experience that I'll have going in. And then that alignment, that passion of education and inspiring and educating all. And the systems piece that I've had to put in place in multiple places, I think helped me align and be ready for that next level, along with my superintendent academy and some other things. So I appreciate your time and opportunity And, I hope everybody has a good night and drives safely.
And certainly, we appreciate you coming and your interest in this position, Dr. As you know, I suspect we have a number of other candidates that we're also talking with. And we will be in contact with you when we determine who will come back for a second interview that may include questions from the candidate to the board.
Sure.
At that point in time to make sure there is that fit. So with that being said, again, we appreciate you coming today and look forward to hopefully hearing from you again.
Thank you.
And we'll grab the input sheet in a few minutes. I'm gonna pass these around.
No, not all.
I think I was like sitting in the same space and what video. Oh.
Everybody get through those?
Same.
Okay, take your time. Okay.
I didn't move here because I wanted an interview.
Sweet.
But you did move
Step
here?
on that.
Leanne, go run another batch of questions.
I did not move to this seat because I'm planning on.
Well, you kind of like the job you have now, don't you?
Mhm.
I imagine so. I can definitely see why people pay for the service though.
It's worthwhile.
Huh?
Is it worthwhile?
Well. One side of me says no way, but then the other side is, when it comes to liability, it's definitely worthwhile. So, yeah.
I'm glad I'm winning over that.
That's what it's fast, okay?
I didn't say I won over, I said winning.
That's true.
Okay. Let me just make a few
Well,
introductory
wait.
comments, I think.
He's gonna go to the restroom real quick,
Okay.
Sean, and then we'll wait for Jana to get back with as well.
We can.
We're ahead of schedule.
We are.
Surprise, surprise.
Exactly.
I did laugh when I looked at how the interview signups went with a women's night and a men's night.
You know, I didn't notice it.
Having taught in middle school, I thought, oh, they're just fitting into that middle school table. Yes.
No, that's one.
Yeah.
My wife did say, yeah, she had 2 minutes. He's good. So there is a helpful.
Sure is. It's a lot of the same ones. I probably took them. Highlights. So,
There's some concerns in the board.
mhm,
Very,
mhm.
very good. Not for the same concerns.
Yeah.
That's what you.
I'm anticipating on, have the distinct pleasure of getting a good flight of a reading to Michael, my son's gonna be married. And I keep hearing this awful flight time, you know, and I'm thinking, I see this new cushion, this inflatable that you
Yeah.
can take.
Saw
And
that.
I'm thinking I might wanna get it, and I'll just bring it back here. when I sit.
Are you going for 2 weeks so you can adjust to the time?
I don't know yet. We have a flight there, we don't have a return flight.
Just stay. No,
Yeah. Yeah, we just said,
Yeah. All right, thank you, Sean.
Let me just start the debriefing time by saying thank you to all of you. You did your homework, you were prepared, you had reviewed the questions. That doesn't always happen. It went very smoothly tonight, so thank you for taking the time to prepare in advance so that we could have a good flow to the questions. We're gonna do the same debrief protocol for all 4 candidates. Basically, I'm gonna ask you one at a time. What are your strengths? What do you see as the positives for this candidate? And then the second question, I'm gonna ask you to share with me, what wonderings do you have? What would you want to follow up on, should you invite them back? We do that with all 4 candidates. When we do it with our second candidate, Andrew, tomorrow, after we're done with that with Andrew, then we'll move on to saying, what do we want to do next? Who would you like to bring back? But I want to make sure we give all 4 candidates the same debrief and have everybody a chance to identify those strengths and those wonderings. The wonderings are important because who you choose to bring back for a final interview, the wonderings get translated into questions for follow-up on the second interview. Okay, so let's start with your first candidate, Desiree Fairlocker. You help me with the pronunciation. What are the strengths that Desiree brings to her candidacy? What you've seen that you think are highlights from what the community has shared with you that you saw in her paperwork? What are the strengths for Desiree?
I was very pleased with the additional handout to highlight some of her experiences and commitments as she expressed them in here. And then on the back side, the first 90 days of the 26-27 school year that she presents with a plan for our district. That was great. That was a nice presentation for that. I like the fact that positive as well, that her relationship with the community and her lifelong living here is good. A couple of the concerns, of course, is as was expressed by some of our audience, was the somewhat lack of experience in the actual negotiation process. Certainly familiar with it, I know. But that's not something that can't be learned. She expressed that she had taken some videos, some classroom work, which struck me as, well, maybe that's something that we as a board could possibly watch, you know, to ensure that we're negotiating appropriately and for the benefit of the staff as well, because we certainly want to attract and keep them.
I felt that, Doug has a strong understanding at both like a systems level of the way things both currently operate and the way that, you know, she has a vision of how they should operate. As well as, you know, specific examples, concrete sort of on a day-to-day ground level of like what's happening. So I felt like there was a good tie between like a larger vision and also like what happens every day. Which I think is important, so I felt like that was his strength. I thought that, you know, obviously that she has deep knowledge of our current systems and what's happening and the ability to launch right into a plan. But, you know, as you said, I think recognizing where she calls out, you know, doing kind of a listening tour to start. I like that a lot as well. I think that's a good acknowledgement of both being a part of the current system, but also wanting to be open to new ideas and feedback. So I like that. I would say for me, a question I have is, you know, I felt that the answer to, like, what could we do to be more successful? She talked a lot about community and family engagement, which I think is great, but my question is, you know,
What number was that?
sorry,
What number was that?
the question?
Yeah.
12.
Thank you.
I think, being a part of the current system and then kind of taking on a new role where you might want to intervene or sort of confront the system that exists can be difficult. And so I'd want to dig into that a little bit more and understand like what is her appetite for, confronting and changing parts of the current system.
Okay. How do you confront and change the system that you've been a part of?
Exactly.
That's my biggest concern on the negative side is, you know, she's all this time in the district, we've been part of everything. How does she knows what's working good. I hope she knows what's not working good. What is her plan to fix it? And my other concern is that she's been here for so long and developed all these relationships, become friends with everybody. Can she draw that line and step to the next level? Because that is a big step and big change. It's different than a building admin, where she's the top job.
Exactly.
For me, a positive was, that you could feel her passion for the special education. So for me I agree with everything you guys are saying too, but another thing that I really felt her passion for the special education and, I agree with everyone. Maybe more questions on budgeting, like what is her knowledge with working with the budget?
One of the specific things I loved her answer to question 13 about using the school for community events. to help kind of reel in the members of the community that don't have children that go here. I've done that in other counties through my work. It's a great idea to get those members to feel the investment that the school has. So I loved her answer on that.
Yeah, I thought she, done.
I would just say that out of the 4 people that are coming here to interview, she's the only person with specific knowledge and has the opportunity to reach right in and say what's wrong, and reach right in and say where the challenges are. And she didn't do that for me, she wasn't specific enough for me, I would like to see more specific answers.
It sounded like she already has ideas about what she wants to do with this. The strategic plan. So maybe we could hear more on that. Sounded like to me she already has some ideas on what
Yeah.
changes she wants.
But I'd like to hear what.
Yeah.
Her ideas are.
That's exact same with me. I'd like to know what her changes would be. And she mentioned the
Specific.
facilities need some updating. It'd be kind of nice to know what her thoughts are. on those
Absolutely.
type of things.
I wonder if just in the interest of time, she kept her answers kind of
Well,
short or big.
my point is, we've recently had discussions about retention and discipline, she didn't bring up. Basically what she would do both.
Yeah.
I really would like some specifics.
And she is, and I've heard this from other people work here in the schools that. You know, she has these systems in place. But some of these systems are not working. So what is her plan B, plan C? To make these changes, because. I've heard that we have some systems in place. And they may work at the elementary school, but not necessarily at the middle school as well, or the high school as well. So what can she do to make changes there?
I'm hoping with her extensive background in special education, they do a lot of out of the box creative thinking or plans. She is able to come up with some better, I hope she will have some good answers to those questions.
Let me tell you what I've written down just from this conversation, make sure I've gotten it. Prepared, the handout was great, 90-day plan, being in community, strong understanding at a systems level that's nicely balanced by a understanding of day-to-day. Emphasis on relationships and the importance of relationships, student first. Acknowledge of her need to do a listening tour, a passion for special education, using the school for community events. Are all things I've heard mentioned in this discussion as a strength she brings. The questions or things you'd want to follow up about. Yeah, let's look at my notes for a minute. Lack of negotiations experience. How would she fill that hole? How do you confront systems or change systems that you developed and have been a part of? How do you draw the line from being a colleague and friend to being the superintendent and boss? How do you navigate that change in role? Some more budget questions. Greater specificity around what changes are needed. Could you identify specific systems that are not working? And say how she would see change coming to them. What other things would you want to explore?
Facilities, what does she see in our buildings? What does she see that needs to be updated or changed? And not only the buildings, but the grounds, the football field, the track, like our sport facilities, just this whole complex.
I'd love to hear what her perception is of the current staff feedback, or what are staff's, current concerns with the key themes? And maybe how does she interpret that? And, if she has a different viewpoint, or how does she address that, I guess? And then similarly, I'd be curious to hear, maybe she covered community concern. And then also I think that. The superintendent role is like, to wear the bulletproof vest all the time, like you're just like a, magnet for, lots of, questions and community chatter, and so I have a question of like, how do you react with challenge? Or like, how do you deal with, direct confrontation?
The one thing that I haven't written down yet, but I saw in the comments was student behavior.
That's what I'm looking at.
That's why I asked about, yeah,
Okay,
concerns.
That's a big issue as well.
I don't care about it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
That's all.
so strengths, questions we wanna follow up on. Anything more with Desiree?
I don't know, I just want to point out again that she's the only one that we're interviewing that has specific knowledge to the district. I'd really like to see her reach in and use her knowledge to be specific with us and impress us with her ideas. She's the only one that can do it, the other three can't. So I want to see her use her advantage.
I feel like she talked about data a lot in a lot of her answers. I think I'm more, what do they do? Data is a big thing. What is the result of,
Mhm.
they sit down and they have all this data, what's the
Or the
result?
actions.
Where the action, yeah. Yeah, once they gather this data.
We have like a example of a specific action plan that then drawn
Yeah.
out with data.
Our data has shifted existing plans.
Okay,
Mhm.
are we ready to move on to Jennifer?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
okay. So what strengths did you hear from her?
Well, she's been in the classroom for 15 years. She's been a teacher. And she's been administrator for,
Extensive classroom experience?
yes, exactly,
11 years as administrator on top of that.
right.
Obviously very intelligent
Mm-hmm.
for her education.
Mhm. I thought you had a very calm and balanced demeanor. I felt
Mhm.
was, really confident but not, overly.
Well, she had specific positive trends in behavior referral reductions at her school. I mean, that's exactly what.
That's
we
huge.
hear.
That's
Our
huge.
teachers would be a lot better off if we had that here now, yesterday. She seemed very authentic.
I really like how she was specifically with like the childcare program that they implemented, and where she said the kindergartners were, owning the building by the time they were there, and that program as they got implemented. I think that's definitely been an issue here.
She comes from a very similar district,
Yeah.
Yeah, she
or
has,
Yeah.
districts. The districts that she was at, was very similar to what we have.
And the membership program that she talked about for the new teachers. I don't know if we do anything like that here.
and they have childcare from 7 AM to 6 PM.
The only drawback on that membership, just from when I worked in, not this school, a different school. Some of the more experienced teachers weren't always the best mentors. Especially if they had been there a while. They were not always the best mentors for the new teachers. But I'm sure, I'm sure she oversees that, makes sure that nothing like that happens.
Yeah.
That's just what came to my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she said something else that was pretty impressive. She talked about our accounts. And where to keep our accounts. balance to look as favorable from the state as we could. Made a lot of sense to me. It seems like she has a clear understanding of that type of thing.
So those are strengths you saw in her. What is you wondering about her? What would you want to follow up on?
As I said about Desiree though too, not a lot of collective bargaining experience,
ZBA. Budgeting.
budgeting.
Budgeting, same thing.
One thing that I was a little perplexed about was that she couldn't pull a controversy out. One that's bullying, kids bullying, she have something that.
She didn't really have any specific examples that I can recall.
I think I wanna know,
Actually, I found her to be really specific
Oh, okay.
about a lot of stuff. What question are we talking about her? Cause I might have a note that would, maybe she'd seem more specific.
Number 10.
And yeah, she had mentioned the cell bell, a reduction on fights.
Yeah, I mean, there's no controversy. She didn't have to deal with the controversy. That's just a policy.
Yeah, and it
Same
isn't,
thing that works here.
yeah, it isn't like there isn't enough controversy
talked
about
about
education.
Social
going
media
on.
bullying.
I think I would wanna know, when she says that she's also looking for kind of her perfect fit, I'd want to hear more about why she then applied to Rossman and like what's special about this district that, you know,
Yeah.
she sees. I didn't really hear a lot about, you know, the things that didn't make our district wonderful and unique and special, and I think there's some, I don't know, maybe some things that she could identify through, you know, the reports online to start a conversation that's more specific, I guess, about Ross County. I'd be really interested to hear more.
Well, and she had mentioned on question 12, how could your current school district do to be more successful? She uttered the word stop the bullying. But that's all, it's as far as she went, she didn't say why, how, or what. And I'm like, wait, that's a great answer, continue on with that, but she didn't, she went down another path. I don't know.
I think it's because
That would
she,
have been a great answer.
yeah, I think it's because she'd used the bullying in another answer, so I think she maybe,
That was the phone.
yeah, so maybe she, cause I know, I heard it too, I was like, oh.
Also, when we asked about the members of our community that don't have children in school, which is a huge, she did mention, you know,
Like districts.
lakes districts, but she didn't really expand on.
Yeah, I made a note of that, she said lake districts
There's
are
like,
different.
yeah,
Yeah, I kind of wonder what she meant by that.
what's that?
Yeah, I was wondering what she meant by that.
I think she understands that, you know, there's a lot of lake homes and they're their vacation homes.
I definitely don't.
Yeah, that's what I said, like, she didn't elaborate, so I don't know what she meant by that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I think because the question, well, okay, what was the question?
It's about the bond.
What was it?
The one she made the lake districts are different was question
Number
13.
13.
Community members without children attending our schools value that educators do.
Sense of
I
ownership.
feel like I
I think
hear that.
because that she's answering the question, the sense of ownership in the community and the schools, but the lakefront people they don't live here, is what she's saying, so that's, so if there's.
She mentioned hearing success stories, which I agree with.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Well,
Yeah.
She didn't mention how, it does
Yeah.
said, you know, social media, I liked that part.
Yeah.
I agree that that needs to be more accessible to the community.
I think there's big differences between our district and Harrison. And I think that's what she's pointing out, because we have a lake district. They have a far more rural, I think you guys, how you would explain it, but they're different,
And they have more budget issues than we have.
they're different, there's
What is that?
And what I'm hearing you say is you'd want to follow up to say, you mentioned Lake Districts. Can you say more about what might be different about them? I'm hearing you say, can we push her a little harder on what she knows about us? And what the opportunities are here.
And what would she do, because we are a lake district, to get those older,
Yeah,
you know, that was
Yeah.
the question,
Mhm.
for people that don't have kids in the district,
Mhm.
more tuned and, feeling a sense of ownership in our education.
I think, and I liked her calm demeanor, and I did feel like she was very balanced and that she could absorb, kind of a lot of hits. On the flip side, I'd like to know more, hear more examples, and to hear her talk about, like, how does she inspire the team to get behind her vision of, like, the future? And I didn't really hear like a positive vision of success for the future. I heard a lot of like, I don't know, kind of the negative side of things that we have to deal with, right? But like, I want to hear it in an inspiring way, like I want to get on that train and like get, rolling. And I felt a little bit more like we have to deal with a lot of these things, and it's good data, but it just didn't feel like an inspiring
And
vision.
she boasted of her vast experience, like she knows that she's overqualified for the job.
Hmm.
And that was on the same question with the, what are you looking for? Well, she said she was looking for a perfect fit, and that same question. And the next sentence, she posted about her vast experience, how qualified she is. Like basically she's overqualified for the job.
Where's she
Yeah.
at, or here?
Here. Here with her vast experience, I'm pretty, that's the way I took it. Maybe she is talking about her job down
Her
there.
job.
So I could have that wrong.
She has a very professional
Yeah.
demeanor. I do think she could handle a lot thrown at her, like having that bulletproof vest on. But I wonder how approachable then is she also?
Somebody, I was trying to figure out how would we write something, because I see that was written, and
Yeah.
I can feel that, like, I can see what somebody might have seen in that approachability. But
Just
how do
even
you-
from a
how do
student
you-
standpoint, like my
Yeah.
child going to Des versus Jennifer,
Yeah.
I could tell you which one she would gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and maybe to like put a finer point on what I had. And the point I was trying to make was, kind of in opposition to what you said, like someone like Des comes in and knows the district and has ideas and has like some strengths and weaknesses or advantages associated with that, advantages associated. How would a new person come in and get our staff behind her, like get buy-in?
Yeah, how
from-
would she fit in?
Well, yeah, what would she do to make sure, or to proactively generate like alignment behind her?
Yeah,
I'd really love to dig into that.
That'd be great for all of us.
we still have 2 more to go, so.
So we got a lot of wonderings. We got 2 strengths for both. What we'll do is we'll do the same thing tomorrow after both candidates. After we decide who to move forward, I will take the questions you identified a week ago as, let's save these for second round. I'll put those in. I will take your wonderings from the candidates you decide to move forward, and I'll try and translate my notes into questions. I will try and turn that around to you relatively quickly. What I'll ask you to do is respond directly to me with any input on those, because you can't deliberate over email as a board, because you gotta do it in open meetings, but you can give me feedback on the draft. And then trust me to take the feedback to perfect the copy. I will say this again tomorrow night, I just wanna make sure everybody knows kind of what the next steps are.
Yeah.
Anything else about either one for tonight? Just closing comments or wrap up?
I just wanted to ask at the end of the last meeting tomorrow. we're gonna have to figure out what two we're bringing back, correct?
Right.
What's the
plan.
process for that? Is that's not gonna be a race to motion, right?
That is. If somebody makes a motion under Robert's rules. And there's a second, then we will deliberate on that. If there's not a second. If somebody races to make a motion. Then that motion fails and we'll wait for another motion. So, I mean, it doesn't include a race, Mike. You know,
Well,
I know you had your concerns about that, and because you've expressed, and I appreciate that. But that's just the normal process. We'll open up the floor for a motion.
That's what I'm saying. Will there be discussion time after the fourth, so that we'll know when the floor is open for?
Well, I think we covered that
Yes,
last.
I will basically do exactly what I've done tonight with those two.
Okay,
I will then basically look at you all and say, any general comments about all four people you've seen? Sometimes somebody speaks up and says, you know, I think we can eliminate this person. And if there's nodding in the head, I said, well, that's just discussion in terms of debriefing. Lots of times, by the time we've done this strengths and growth areas or strengths and doubtings for all four, and we've listened to each other through that process, I have run most of the time, people, by the time we're done with that conversation, it's pretty clear about who you want to bring back. In which case, I typically, in leading the discussion, say, well, it sounds like you're about ready to make a motion. And then somebody says, let's bring back Frank and Susie. Then I turn it back over to the presiding officer, who says, is there a second? And you debate that motion. So that's typically how it goes. A little more discussion, just because that's part of the debriefing before you get into the formal motion.
And hearing everybody's thoughts ahead. of
And
time.
here, and making sure everybody's heard.
that's all I was worried about.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's fair.
yeah, that's making sure everybody's heard before motions get made. Again, Robert might not completely agree with that flow. But,
Yes.
I take the liberty, because on the agenda, it says debriefing of interviews, so we do that fully.
And we'll have time, you're gonna do these forms. Again, these were great.
Exactly.
I just wanna
Great
say-
notes from the members
The-
section.
And certainly we hope we have audience members to participate.
Yeah, I just wanna say thank you for coming and participating and filling in the form. That was so helpful, and I hope that if you can come back tomorrow, or other people can come back tomorrow.
Every friend.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, I had trouble reading the guy that didn't lift his pencil when he was block writing. I don't know who that was.
I
had
thought the
trouble reading
penmanship
that.
was
That's
amazing
beautiful.
compared to my own.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a work of art.
I assured the people who were concerned about their penmanship that it'd be fine, don't?
You saw my.
Gentlemen or gentle lady. So the next item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. If anybody wishes to say anything, please stand up, give your name. Remember, we are on the recording device, which won't be posted until after we're done tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think we're actually.
Anybody? Again, thank you very much for coming. It's an opportunity for board comments now. If anybody has anything they'd like to throw out there.
Good job.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Save your notes, you can take them home with you, but bring them back with you, just give them to you. You can give them to me if you want them, right? Ultimately, they should be maintained by the district. Yeah. Okay, and when we're all done, we'll want them all.
Okay.
But you can take them home tonight, but it is, notes taken during board meetings, during the hiring process, do not be maintained.
All of the board stuff is straight up.